Hey everybody, this is Jessica, and I'm here to walk you through the new Creative Couture update, which is so amazing if I say so myself. Now, I have to double check it in Elements, but this new update is meant to make it Elements compatible, and I've just added some new stuff, some new one-click styles, changed it around, and I just realized I can make it better, and now this should be even better, even easier, simpler, faster, smarter, all that. So, to start off with, I'm going to just go through some little things. I put, as you know, you had like 150 dynamic Photoshop brushes, and I had them saved as tool presets. Well, what I did was I went through and saved them as brush presets as an ABR file. So now you can go ahead and load, if you prefer to work with the brush presets. They're the same brushes, don't get me wrong, the same 150 brushes, but you can load them as a regular brush now as an ABR file. So here I have them all loaded up as the ABR file, and you can see I have it shown as a stroke thumbnail, so you can actually see the stroke. So that is the brushes. Same brushes, I just saved them as an ABR file, and this should mean it's compatible with more versions. I have to see how far back it goes version-wise, but I would say, well, the version is about the same, but this will mean the Elements can load it, and that's very key. So that's the brushes. Another thing that I added was layer styles, because generally I made the actions because that's kind of a workflow that I prefer, but some people prefer like layer styles. So what I did was I made layer styles, but I made them smart layer styles. So I'll go into that later, but you want to load up your layer styles just like you do any other kind of layer styles. You make sure your styles dialog box is out, and go over here and click load. Now I go through how to load everything in my other videos, so I'm not going to go through it on this one on how to load, but you can refer back to my other ones. But load up your styles, and with the styles, the smart styles, they have their own set of actions. So you want to load up that set of actions too. That is the Creative Couture Smart Styles action set. And that's going to make it really easy for you to resize the, what do you call it, the pattern overlay and scale it up or down. And so that's going to be really good. And that's going to be really handy for Elements users as well, because they can't control some of those, get into some of those layer styles like Photoshop can. And then for the Creative Couture system, you know you have, if you already have your brush loaded and you're cool with that, you don't have to worry about that. But you do need to load the new patterns. It's you need to replace the patterns or load the new ones, but I would just suggest replacing, taking out the patterns that you already have and replacing these new ones, because the base pattern is different. The base pattern is gold. So load up those new patterns, and then you want to load up the new actions as well, because the new actions makes things simpler, easier, and more amazing. So I'm just going to get right to it. And I have this little flower in a leaf here. I'll blow this up just a little bit. And I'm going to show you how the new actions work. So I go here to my Creative Couture action, Smarter and Faster. And basically I'm going to press, you've only got basically two actions, Couture and Paint Couture. And you've got all the different options within that single action. So I've got Couture, I'm going to press play, and it's going to look just like the Couture before. Okay, so what's different? So I'm going to open up that little layer group that it created. I'm going to show you a couple things. First of all, you can still change the pattern on the green layer. You can go through there, change all the patterns that you want. So easy, so fast. You can go through on the color, change the color. So easy, so fast. But what's different is you can turn off the color, and it will respect the colors that are below it. So that way you can pull in a little group of images like this that are already colored from Illustrator, run the action over it, and you don't even need to recolor it or bring them in separately. So that's a total improvement. So you can use the colors this way. You have the option to change the color if you want, but you can use the colors that are already on the object. So this is a really big step forward. Another option that you have is the gold option is built right in, so to the main style, so you don't have to decide before or after if you want to have it in gold. So now if I want to turn on this gold option, it will be in gold, and I can go through here and flip through all the different golds if I want to put it on gold. Or if I don't want gold, I just turn that off. But that way it's just easier and ready to go. So you got everything in one action set. And this is my preferred workflow because I don't really like double clicking on layer styles, but this is just makes it super easier, super better. Now, one thing that I will show you as before, if you say I want this in like a silver colored or whatever, if you want anything silver or with no color, you always put the color layer to black, and then you can change the different pattern. Like this is, I'll put the jeweled on there, so that way, like I want that clear jeweled look with no color. So always, if you want that look, always just put the color to black. That's all you have to do. And then of course you've got your iridescent option overlay, so you could turn that on if you want. That looks really good on those the jeweled things here. And you can just double click on that like before, and then you can change between the iridescent overlays. Now, I do have those little other gold leaf and loose jewels overlay, and I didn't make a specific layer for them because what you can do, I wanted to keep this lean and mean. So if you want, you can just, on the iridescent overlay layer, if you want, say for example, the gold leaf overlay, you just turn that on, the gold leaf overlay on, and all you need to do is just change the blend mode to normal, and that way you can have the gold leaf overlay. It doesn't really show really great right there, but there's an example. You just turn it to normal blend mode and opacity of 100. But those ones aren't quite as popular, and so I didn't want to add another layer and make things more bulky, so I just wanted to keep it lean and mean. But by default, it's on the iridescent overlay, which is the most popular overlay. So that's the actions, and so I'm just super excited about that because that just means, look at that, you can take it in and take a little thing you've designed in Illustrator, drag it in here, so easier. Okay, so that's the main action, and then of course we have the Paint Couture action. So I can press play, and that's just going to set me up my little environment like before. And I look for the red layer, and I can just simply paint on it, which I think I will. Let me find a brush that I like here. So I can just go like this, and wow, like there we go. I've got my so I can paint with these effects and see it immediately. And the same thing as before, you know, I could put it in gold, I can add an iridescent overlay. If I want even, or you know, I can change the color, or I can turn that color layer off, and there it will it'll color, add that effect to the color that it already was. So easy, so better. And what these other two actions are, you don't really need to, you can just ignore these if you want. But this is for elements, which I have to double check and test it before I can approve it. But it's called Couture No Folder, and it just makes the Couture action. I'm going to push play. But what it just does is add those clipping masks on top without grouping it into a folder, because Adobe Photoshop Elements can't use folders. They can't access anything in folders, so I had to create it without folders. So that's just really for Elements users, and I can just turn that off, and there, you know, everything is exactly the same. The same thing with Paint Couture. It just does the actions and doesn't make a folder, which you could do that if you wanted, if you, for some reason, you don't want it in folder. So that's the new actions. Leaner, meaner, more powerful. And then the next thing that I have to show you is, actually I'm going to keep this here, the styles. So bear with me while I clean up just a minute. And I am going to take this lettering right here. And I made these all into styles. So, but I'm like, okay, well, I want to make these smarter. How can I do this smarter? And so basically, you've got all your different options on the top. And the top one says color, but it doesn't look like color. It looks like black and white. And then in the bottom, you've got all the different styles, but in rich glitter. Well, all I have to do is take my layer here and click one of these, and it's going to put me instantly in the style. How cool is that? It uses the color that's already on your layer there. So easy and fun. Well, then you also have the gold. So you can have all these instantly in gold. So that's just really easy. All you have to do is click the layer. And one thing that you can also do is, since you have your patterns loaded, you can double click in the pattern overlay if you want. If you don't feel like going like this and scrolling all down, you could just double click here in the pattern overlay. And because I gave you because you have already the pattern files, you could just click through here and go like this. But this is a way to keep it lean and mean. If you don't want to have a bunch of layers or groups or whatever, you want to just, keep it pretty simple and you don't have a lot of adjusting to do. So that's the fast layer styles. And the same thing here with the glitters or the colored ones. So, you can go through here and just flick through and do that. Or you can go here, double click the pattern overlay and just go through like this. And now say I want to, let's see here. Say I have, the color is really easy to change, on, like with these one-click styles, say I have a text. Well, I can just go here in my text and change the color like this if I wanted to. That's easy. So say I have a shape layer like this. I'm going to go through here and I've got a shape layer. Well, it's blue. Let's say I add the different effects. Well, that's easy peasy, no big deal. But I want to change the color. Well, I just double click on that shape layer. And so that's easy to change the color. But say, for example, I'm going to draw here a raster. I will draw a raster paint, a paintbrush stroke. Well, if I click the glitter layers, that's cool. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause this because I'm going to be interrupted and I do not want to mess up the tutorial. So hang tight and I will just add another segment onto this. Okay, I'm back. So before I was showing you, when you're using the one-click styles, it uses the color that's already there. Which it's super easy if you have a text layer or a shape layer to change that color. But say, for example, I draw a brush stroke or I have a rasterized layer here and I'm clicking my glitter styles and I'm like, okay, that's great, but I want to change the color. So how do I do that with the styles? Well, all you do is you double click on the pattern overlay, add a color overlay and change that mode to color and bam, you've got another color. So it's really just that easy. Or if you want, I just made another little quick, a little shortcut for you here, and I just put raster starter, add whatever the rest it says here. So it's the one in pink down there. So what you can do is basically that added a pattern overlay for you and a color overlay for you. And so you can just go through here and change the color now or change the pattern how you like it. So that's just another shortcut. But you've always got these golds and then all of the different one-click styles for that uses the color that's already on it. So there's smart styles, which is just really cool. And I'll just show you an example here. Like it's just the same way as running the actions 2 before. I've got my little layer here and it's multiple colors. Well, all I have to do on the styles is click here, bang. And it'll put all those styles and use the colors that's already on there. So I think that's super cool. There's no other effects on Creative Market or anywhere I've seen that are doing it like that. And so it's just really smart. You can have so many options. So the styles are just another way that I'm just trying to think of like all the different ways that people like to work. So maybe somebody doesn't like as many layers and they're just wanting to do it pretty simply. They can use the smart styles and have like the same effects. And you can also use the smart styles when you paint too. So I can just create a new layer here. And let's see here. Grab one of my brushes. Well, I can take that layer, add a rich glitter effect to it, and then just draw, and I can draw in the style. So it's just so stinking easy. So that's the updates. If you have any questions, ask me. Oh, and one last thing I need to show you is that with the smart styles, I wanted to make it a bit better. So what I did was I have an action that says scale down 50%. So if you have like a bigger pattern, because some of them I made really big, because I was like, maybe you want to use it on a background or something like that, and you don't want it teeny tiny. You know, you want to see the design. So I made some of them kind of big. So if you need to scale down that pattern for something more small, you can take this action here, press play, and that's going to scale it down tinier. I'm going to do that here. I'll zoom in so you can see. This is pretty small anyway. This is a pretty refined pattern, but let's just say I'll go to one of my textiles, which they're kind of notoriously big. And so I've got a textile pattern. Well, I just press play. That'll scale that down so that way you can see it on there. And you can scale it down again even if you want, or scale it back up. So I'm going to click play, and there I'm back to my original one. But that takes it down by 50%, which 50% and 25% is the scales that patterns look good at. Photoshop is weird. Like if you put a pattern at an odd size, sometimes it will look fuzzy. Might not print like that, but at least on the screen it renders kind of weird. So that is another shortcut. You can also add an iridescent overlay with the styles. So let's just say, oh, and at the bottom here, I have some quick ones because the jeweled ones look better in no color. But rather than have you have to like put a black layer or anything with it, I just have them as quick style. So I've got no color jeweled one, all the jeweled ones and the paves, I have them in a no color version. So it's super cool. And these look really cool with an iridescent overlay. So I've got this layer here. Hey, I want an iridescent overlay. Well, I have an action for that. You press play and bam. Basically, all that does is with the styles, you can't have quite the editability of the fill layers. But what I did was I just duplicated the layer and I put the iridescent overlay on that. So you can double click on that and change the iridescent overlay if you want. And adjust it and all that, you know, so you can just change it through there. But if you change this layer, you're going to have to do the iridescent overlay again because it's just, all I did was duplicate the layer. But hey, it's super fast, and one-click styles can be really great for people who have some big files or they don't want a lot of layers. So that's that. And then I have one other action, which is resizing print style to web resolution. So these are all print styles, which Photoshop is still is annoying because if you make a style in a 300 dpi document, well, if you go to a 72 dpi document and push that style, it's not going to look right. And I'll show you an example of that. It's just because the percentage isn't the same. So I'm going to clear this off. Okay, I've got my Couture layer there. And I'll just go to this document and I will click Rich Glitter. Well, that doesn't look really great. Something's up. Basically, what's up is it applies it at a 24% scale. And Photoshop is always going to do that. It does it with every print style. But say I've got a 72 dpi document like I do here. Well, all I need to do is press that action and it's going to size it up right. But I recommend working in a 300 dpi document even if you're going to use it for the web. But if you've got a web document and you need to work in that document, so you can just click one of the styles, press play, and it's going to resize it to the right style. So that's the new update for Creative Couture. I can't wait for everything to upload. That's the exciting part, and I'm just so excited. I hope you guys appreciate the new stuff and the fact that you can, you know, drag some illustrations in that are already colored in Illustrator and just apply these effects. And I think that's going to be a really big thing. If you appreciate everything, please, please click recommend. And if you can, leave a comment on my product, because I have a new website and I want to have a page of reviews. So if you've used my products and like them, and want to share that with others, that will be really great, because I'm putting together a page of reviews for other people. So feel free to just leave a quick little review of working with my products. And big news is I have a new website, designstuffs.com, and I'm going to have a ton of freebies and tips and tutorials, and I'm just trying to load it up right now. So check it out, and I'll just talk to you guys really soon.